So over the decades, one thing is consistent when it comes to advancements in fishing technology. They serve to make us better and more efficient anglers. I'm talking about the transition from monofilament to better lines like fluorocarbon and braid. From black and white sonar to forward facing that even locks on a target, that is crazy advancement. But there still is one argument to be made when it comes to becoming a better bass angler, and that has to do with this thing right here, the Baitcasting Reel. What the heck could be better about this thing to make us catch more fish? My name's Tyler, and let's talk about it.
Another giant, another giant. Look at that, y'all.
I can't believe what I just caught.
Yes!
Well, how's it going, folks, and welcome back to Tyler's Reel Fishing. My goal here on this channel is to help you guys become better bass anglers and catch more fish. So if you want that, hit that subscribe button. Now, you guys know I'm all about efficiency here on this channel. I want you guys, and myself included, as we advance on our bass fishing knowledge and skills, to become more efficient anglers. So if I see something that's causing us to not be as efficient as an angler, I'm gonna call it out, and I'm gonna find a way to help you get over that and catch more fish. And becoming an efficient angler is really not that hard nowadays. The learning curve from beginner bass fishermen to, I'd say, semi-proficient bass fishermen is a lot faster than it used to be, especially because of technology, magazines, all the information out there can make us efficient anglers. But there is one glaring issue when it comes to efficiency that I think even I have fallen prey to here on my channel and throughout my career, and it was pointed out in a YouTube comment that I got on a previous video. A user named Fish's Critic types this out. "You're great, Tyler. I've learned so much from you. Question though, why cast and reel with the same right hand?" "Well, I refuse such ergonomics," says me. Question, well, why don't you? "You've mentioned efficiency too often to demonstrate the opposite." Dang, you know what? He might be right. I think to a certain extent, I have been hypocritical when it comes to efficiency. Or have I? You know what, before I give a final answer on this, I say we go into some history about baitcasting reels. As long as I can remember, the majority of baitcasting reels have been right-hand retrieve. That means you hold the rod with your left hand over the reel, and you hold the reel, the handle, with your right hand. But as long as I can remember is really only about 10 to 15 years, and so let's go online and do some research real quick about baitcasting reels. As I scanned the internet and watched old videos, it was consistently confirmed to me that even old anglers in the 80s, like Bill Dance, Roland Martin, Jimmy Houston, most of those guys used right-hand retrieve baitcasters and switched hands after they casted. So if it's always been that way, why? Now, this is the part of the video that becomes speculation. I don't have any data or really science to back this up, but based on my 10 plus years of using baitcasting reels, all my connections in the fishing industry, and my relatively high level of common sense, I can tell you this synopsis should be on point. And so if you disagree, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Now, let's start with humans and their behavior, and then move on to companies and their purchasing and selling decisions. By a simple Google search, I found out that 10% of humans on average are left-handed, which means that 90%, the vast majority, use their right hand, and thus by extension, their right arm, for the majority of hand exercises. In fishing, holding a rod and reel, controlling the handle is one of those. So knowing this, it would make the most sense that people who are right-handed, the majority of them, would prefer to cast with their right arm, because that's where a stronger arm is, that's where the majority of your power is. And if you throw a football with your right arm, you throw a baseball, you throw a frisbee, you eat dinner with a fork, you're going to want to cast with your right arm. So it makes sense that you have your hand up here, the right hand up here, your left hand down here, and you cast with your right arm. And when it comes to me personally, I know that my right hand has better finger dexterity than my left. I have an easier time picking up tiny marshmallows and needles with my right hand than I would with my left. I can actually back that up. I went to a kind of aptitude study when I was younger, and my right hand skills aptitude was better than my left hand. And I think most people who are right hand dominant are that way. So it makes sense, again, that I would want to control my reel, my fishing reel, with my right hand, because again, my fingers can grip the handle better than my left hand can. So if those simple facts explain natural human behavior, let's talk about companies and their product decisions. Companies like Lew's that manufacture baitcasting reels have always had to make the best product decisions that drive a profit. If you make bad decisions, your company's going downhill. So if the majority of people out there, even going back to the 80s, wanted to reel with their right hand, As a company, you're gonna make and produce and sell products that cater to the majority of people. So there just weren't many left-hand retrieve bait casters until relatively recently. And as fishing becomes more popular and more anglers have a say in what products they want to become more efficient, and thus more left-hand retrieve reels are being produced. Every brand nowadays has tons of left-hand retrieves, usually right hand and left hand in every model type. And a left-hand retrieve reel for right-handed people fits the bill really well when it comes to shallow target casting, flipping and pitching. But here's where I'm gonna argue that a left-hand retrieve reel does not make you a more efficient angler as a right-handed person. The only argument that I can really see as somewhat viable for using a left-hand retrieve baitcaster is, like I mentioned, for shallow target casting, flipping and pitching in really shallow wood or shallow grass, in a situation where maybe the fish are biting it relatively close to when it hits the water and sinks down, and so you don't want to be switching hands after you cast or flip because you could potentially miss the bite and not be in the position to set the hook. But here's the reasons why I think that argument doesn't hold a whole lot of water. Most lures in bass fishing, even this spinnerbait that I have right here, need to sink at least a foot or a few feet before you start your retrieve. And so if you are casting out there with your right hand, it hits the water, you don't need to be reeling right away. Your retrieve doesn't need to be starting right away. A few lures you do, but for the majority of them, your worms, your jigs, your topwaters, they just sit there. They don't even sink at all. You have time to switch your hand. And so having that extra second that people could think is wasteful, not being efficient, to switch hands after you cast is really not costing you any fish. As a matter of fact, it's probably helping a little bit because it is forcing you to get that lure down to the bottom, which a lot of anglers, especially beginner anglers, have trouble with, patience, letting that lure sink. Switching your hands after you cast actually might help that lure get into the strike zone a little bit faster. And the second reason why is because most bass are not hitting your lure like the second it hits the water. Because bass are mostly on the bottom, you want your bait to get there. So that kind of goes hand in hand with the first reason. Switching hands doesn't make you less efficient. Now, where it could potentially be more efficient to have your hand on the rod at the same time as the reel in both the flip and the retrieve, never switching them, is going to be on shallow cover flipping. So punching, flipping shallow wood. But in my scenario, I have just learned to flip with both my right hand and my left hand. That way, if I like a certain location over here, I flip with my right, and then I just kind of switch my hand as that bait is in midair or right as it hits the water. And if I'm right in front of the boat on my right side of my body, I'm flipping with my left hand. And so I don't really have a need for a left-hand retrieve reel because I've learned to flip with both hands. So at this point, where do I stand on the baitcasting reel? Am I gonna switch to all left-hand retrieve reels? I think you can kind of tell the answer is no. And the reason for me, as I've already mentioned, is because I grew up fishing a bait casting reel this way. I am most comfortable this way. I like the casting distance and power I can get with my right hand, and I don't mind switching hands either during the cast or right as the lure hits the water. I don't think switching hands for a quick second makes me a less efficient angler. And as always, you can feel free to disagree in the comment section below. As a matter of fact, I would encourage some awesome discussion down there. Now, one question still remains in your mind if you watch a lot of my videos, and you're probably thinking, Tyler, why do you use a right-hand retrieve baitcaster if you use a left-hand retrieve spinning reel? And once again, the answer is because that's the way that I learned and the way that I grew up doing it. It's not that I'm reeling the reel upside down or something. I'm doing both things the right way. I'm switching hands with a baitcaster, and I'm not switching hands with a spinning rod. And it's just the most comfortable for me. And like I said, I don't think having reels two different ways when it comes to the vast, vast, vast majority of lures makes you a less efficient angler. I like to cast both baitcaster and spinning rod with my right hand, but when it comes to the spinning rod, I feel really comfortable with it in my left hand because that's the way that I grew up doing it. And the way that I grew up, like I said, because the majority of reels out there were right-hand retrieve, this is the way that I grew up doing it, and I don't feel it's any less efficient. So I say we hop on the water and see some fish catches using a baitcaster that's right-hand retrieve, switching hands, and not being hindered or less efficient. Ah, no, I got a backlash. See how the bait's in there, but.
You got it?
Yep, big one. He's got me stuck though. He got out, there we go. Beautiful, beautiful. My line's gonna be all frayed, but that's 20-pound seaguar for you. Boom, get up in here. I thought he was way bigger when he ate.
but I'll take him. Love it. There's one. Get out of there. Get out of there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go. Little tiny squirt. Thank you, friend. Little guy. I was feeling a bite and I was like, is that a bluegill or a bass? Turns out it's a bass right here. Out. Single scoop. Oh, I have one? Oh, I do. Oh my goodness. Again, a small one that I didn't know what it was. And I think he was trying to get the bait out of his mouth and he just couldn't. It was like stuck in his mouth. Got him. Yes, sir. There we go. Get up in here. Hey, hey. Ow, little guy. Where are the grandes? Gosh, that was awesome. That was awesome. Holy cow. That guy came out from the dock. Oh man, that was so cool. That was so cool. I watched him eat it too. Oh, it was awesome. Whoo, hoo, hoo. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's awesome right there. 3-pounder. Chased the jig out and ate it. That's some proportions right there. Look at the fatness of that fish on the cage fighter. That's awesome. Dang. He might not be 3, might be just under. Oh, it is 3. 3.06. To all the folks in the comments who say that I'm a bad judge of fish weight, I was dead on.
Well, folks, that's going to be it for the video. I hope that you enjoyed. If you want to watch 2 similar videos about the Baitcaster, one detailing my top 3 tips when it comes to getting this thing set up right for success, I will leave that up here in the corner. And if you want to know how to properly put line on a Baitcaster, because there are definitely some ways to do it better, I will leave that video, boom, up here in this corner. I would really appreciate it if y'all would watch one of those 2 videos. My name's Tyler, and we'll see you next time right here on TRF.